My mom handed me a folder and said, I used your $37,000 emergency fund to save your sister's house. I'm sure you understand. I just smiled, of course. Then I reported it as fraud. An hour later, the bank called, and headlights hit the driveway. Hey Reddit, pull up a chair. This one's a mess. My mom drained my emergency fund to cover my sister's mortgage. I called the bank, got it reversed, and filed a civil case against her. Here's what went down. I'm Drew, 34 male, and I've been my family's personal piggy bank for years. Started small when I was fresh out of college. Mom needed $300 for her car payment. She paid me back in 2 months. Said she really appreciated it. Made me feel like a good son. After that, the requests got bigger and the repayments got slower until they stopped altogether. My sister Sharon's rent when she got fired from her job at the salon, which she claimed was unfair because her manager had it out for her. Dad's medical bills when insurance mysteriously covered less than expected. Mom's credit card debt because she deserved nice things after everything she'd done for us. Every single time I said yes. Every single time they promised to pay me back. I'm still waiting on roughly 43 grand worth of IOUs that disappeared into thin air. Sharon is 2 years younger than me. Growing up, she was the princess and I was the workhorse. She got dance lessons and pageant entries. I got a paper route to help pay for family expenses. She dated the popular guys and went to parties. I studied and worked part-time at a bookstore. She got a brand new Jetta for her 16th birthday. I got a card with $20 in it and permission to use Dad's old truck on weekends. When Sharon got married at 24, Mom and Dad paid for everything. The venue at some country club, the catering, the fancy beverage service, the honeymoon to Cancun, $14,000, easy. When I got engaged a year later, Mom told me I should keep it simple and that big weddings are wasteful anyway. We had 30 people at a restaurant, and I paid for all of it. Sharon's husband, Brad, was a real piece of work. Sales guy who talked a big game, but never closed deals. The kind of guy who wore expensive watches he couldn't afford and drove a leased BMW while complaining he was broke. They bought a house 3 years ago in Mesa, Arizona. Way outside their budget, but Sharon wanted it. I knew it was a disaster from the start. They barely scraped together the down payment, and their combined credit was questionable. But Mom called me the night they closed, voice all excited, telling me how Sharon was finally adulting, building equity, becoming responsible. I congratulated them. I even sent a housewarming gift. What nobody in my family knew was that I'd been running a long con of my own. 3 years ago, after Dad tried to access an old joint account from my college days without asking, I opened a completely separate savings account at a different bank. Not my regular bank, a completely different institution with a different online portal. Different everything. I called it my actual emergency fund. The one my family would never touch because they'd never know it existed. 18% of every paycheck went into that account. No debit card, no checks, no automatic payments. Just slow, steady accumulation of real security. After 3.5 years, I had $41,000 in there. That number mattered. It represented every time I ate ramen for a week so I could cover someone else's crisis. Every canceled trip because family needed me to stay liquid. Every night I stayed home while Sharon posted Instagram photos from whatever expensive restaurant Brad was pretending he could afford. But I'm paranoid in the best way. After the incident with Dad and that joint account, I locked my secret savings down like Fort Knox. Multi-factor authentication, biometric security, transfer limits requiring manual approval for anything over $1,000, fraud alerts set to trigger on suspicious activity. I even set up a 72-hour review protocol for large transfers. So, fast forward to that Wednesday from heck. I got home from my job at the insurance office around 6, still in my business casual, ready for a quiet evening. Then I saw Mom's Nissan in the visitor spot. She never just showed up. We had our system. Family dinners every other Sunday, planned visits with advance notice. This was wrong. Second I opened my apartment door, I knew something was off. Mom had this look on her face. Triumphant. She was holding a manila folder like it was a winning lottery ticket. She walked past me without being invited in, sat on my couch, and patted the cushion like I was a kid. I stayed standing. That's when she opened the folder, and my stomach dropped straight through the floor. Bank statements. My bank statements. From my secret account. The one nobody knew existed. My account numbers, my balances, my emergency fund laid out like evidence at a trial. $41,000. Right there in black and white. I couldn't form words for a few seconds. Then I managed to ask, "How the heck did you get these?" Mom waved her hand like it was nothing. "Don't worry about it. What matters now is that I found a solution for Sharon's house. She said it like she just solved world hunger. My jaw dropped. She pulled out another paper. Payment confirmation dated yesterday. $37,000 transferred from my savings to a mortgage company. Sharon's mortgage company. The room tilted. I sat down before my legs quit. Mom started explaining like she was presenting a brilliant plan. Sharon and Brad were 4 months behind on their mortgage. 4 months. The bank had started foreclosure proceedings. They were going to lose everything. So Mom stepped up. She fixed it. She used my emergency fund to save Sharon's house. I stared at the paper. My account now read 4,000 instead of 41,000. $37,000. Gone. She kept talking. Said I was good at saving. I could rebuild it. Sharon needed help now. Family helps family. Then she dropped the real bomb. Sharon had been crying every night. Brad was talking about bankruptcy. I couldn't stand watching her suffer when there was a solution right there. I'm sure you understand. She was waiting for me to thank her. Genuinely waiting for applause. I asked how she accessed my account. It had security that would make a cybersecurity expert jealous. Turns out she'd kept documents from when I lived at home. Social security card, birth certificate, old bank statements from a closed account. And she'd hired someone. Some tech guy her friend Barbara recommended. Paid him $400 to help her bypass the security. She said this casually, like it was a fun little adventure instead of multiple felonies. Are you insane? I asked. You had no freaking right. She shot back. I had every right. I'm your mother. I gave you life. Sacrificed for you. If anyone has the right to make decisions about what's best for this family, it's me. Plus, Sharon will pay you back once her photography business takes off. Sharon's photography business. The one that consisted of taking blurry iPhone photos at birthday parties for $50. That photography business. Right. She stood up, smoothed her pants, and said, I'd thank her later. Once I calmed down and thought clearly, I'd understand she did this for the family. For Sharon. I smiled while my brain calculated. I said, sure, Mom. Whatever you say. She tried to read my expression, couldn't figure it out, then kissed my forehead and left like she'd just done me a favor. The door clicked shut. I sat there for maybe 20 seconds. Then I grabbed my laptop and went to work. The first thing I did was document everything with the precision of someone building a legal case. Screenshots of my account history, photos of Mom's payment confirmation from every possible position, video recording of the folder and all its contents with timestamps, voice memos where I recorded exactly what she'd said. I even took photos of the folder itself, the cheap manila one she'd brought like it was a gift. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a family dispute. This was premeditated theft with planning and execution. She'd kept my personal documents. She'd hired someone to help commit fraud. She'd impersonated me to access the account. She'd transferred $37,000 without permission. Multiple felonies stacked on top of each other. But here's where it got interesting. My initial instinct was to call the bank immediately and report fraud. That would have been the reactive move. The obvious move. And Mom would have anticipated it. She'd lawyer up. Sharon would play victim. Dad would pressure me to be reasonable. And I'd end up looking like the bad guy who destroyed the family over money. I'd seen this pattern my entire life. Problems got absorbed. Consequences got distributed. The people who caused the mess never learned a thing. Not this time. I spent 3 hours researching bank fraud procedures, identity theft protocols, wire fraud statutes, all of it. The information was crystal clear. If I reported immediately, the bank would freeze everything, reverse the transaction, and file with law enforcement. Sharon's mortgage payment would bounce. She'd be right back where she started, except worse because bounced payments trigger penalty fees and accelerate foreclosure timelines. And Mom would know immediately what I'd done. But then I remembered something. That paranoid security protocol I'd set up 3 years ago. The one that created a 72-hour review period for suspicious transfers. According to Mom's timestamp, she'd initiated the transfer yesterday afternoon around 2, which meant it was still in the review window. Still reversible without triggering immediate alerts. Perfect. I called the bank's fraud prevention hotline. When the rep answered, I explained calmly that I needed to report unauthorized access to my account. The rep's tone shifted instantly. She asked what I wanted them to do. I told her I wanted the transfer reversed and the account locked down completely. No one accesses it except me, in person, with a photo ID and a secret passphrase I'd create right there on the call. She said they could absolutely do that. But given the amount involved, over $35,000, they'd need to file a formal fraud report. This would likely involve law enforcement notification within 48 hours. I paused. then asked if we could hold off on law enforcement for 72 hours. I wanted to handle this internally first, talk to family, see if we could resolve it without involving police. The rep hesitated. She said she understood the sensitivity, but needed to be clear. If they reversed this transfer, the receiving institution would be notified immediately. There would be penalties and fees assessed to the recipient. This would have immediate, irreversible consequences. I said I understood completely. Reverse it. She processed it right there. Said the reversal would show up within 2 hours. $37,000 would reappear in my account, and Sharon's mortgage company would receive notification that the payment was rejected due to suspected fraud. Mom's phone would ring. Sharon would lose her mind, and both would realize I hadn't just rolled over and accepted it. I thanked her and hung up. Then I texted my buddy Tyler from work, the guy who'd been telling me for years that my family was toxic. Told him everything. He responded in 30 seconds. Finally, want me to come over? Wait, I'm just gonna come over. He showed up 40 minutes later with food and the biggest grin. He sat at my kitchen table while I explained the whole thing. The theft, the reversal, the 72-hour window before police got involved. He said, "Man, this is the greatest revenge story I've ever heard, and it's happening in real time." I checked my phone. 7:15 p.m. I said, "Give it another hour." Then the fireworks start. At 8:03 p.m., my phone lit up. Text from Mom. "Call me right now. Emergency." I showed Tyler. He laughed. That didn't take long. I didn't respond. At 8:07 p.m., she called. I let it ring 4 times before answering on speaker, so Tyler could hear. Mom's voice was confused but not panicked yet. Said the mortgage company called about an hour ago. Something about a problem with the payment. It had been reversed. She didn't understand. I asked what specifically they told her. She said they claimed the payment was flagged as unauthorized and pulled back. But that didn't make sense. She had documentation. She'd followed all the proper procedures. I almost laughed. Proper procedures for committing fraud. What procedures exactly? Pause. Then she said she'd used my account information to make the payment. We'd discussed this earlier. I corrected her. We hadn't discussed anything. She'd told me what she'd already done. She tried to brush past it. Said the point was the payment was made properly. So why would it be reversed? Did I think this was some kind of bank error? I took a sip of water. Let the silence stretch. Tyler was grinning. Well, it wasn't an error. Longer pause. Then she asked, "What do you mean?" I told her I'd called the bank this afternoon and reported the transaction as fraud, which it was, so they reversed it. The silence was beautiful. Tyler pumped his fist. When Mom spoke again, her voice had changed completely. Sharp, angry. "What the heck have you done?" I repeated it slowly. I reported fraud. She'd accessed my account without permission, used stolen personal information, hired someone to help bypass security, and transferred money without authorization. Textbook fraud. Multiple felonies. The bank agreed. "This is instance. You can't report your own mother." "Oh, I just did." "You are making a huge mistake. You're gonna destroy your sister over a misunderstanding?" "No. I'm destroying you both over theft." I heard movement on her end. Voices. A door slamming. Then Mom's voice, lower and meaner. She said Sharon was there. She'd just arrived after getting the call from the mortgage company. They were assessing over $3,000 in penalties and fees. The foreclosure timeline was now accelerated to 25 days instead of 90. "That sounds like a Sharon problem," I said. Mom lost it. Started yelling about how I was destroying my sister's life, her marriage, her future. How could I be so cruel? So selfish. After everything they'd done for me. I asked what exactly they'd done for me. Because from where I sat, I'd given them tens of thousands of dollars over the years. And what had I gotten? A mother who stole from me? And a sister who couldn't pay her own mortgage? Then I heard Sharon's voice in the background. Shrill. Demanding to talk to me. Mom must have put it on speaker because Sharon's voice came through clear. She was crying but angry. Said I was a piece of trash. Said I was sabotaging her life because I was jealous she had a husband and a house and a real life while I was alone in my pathetic apartment. That landed. Not because it hurt. Because it confirmed exactly what they thought of me. A resource. I said Sharon's house was getting foreclosed because she didn't pay her mortgage for 4 months. Asked where the money went. Silence. I pressed. Said I knew Brad leased a new BMW 6 months ago. Asked if that's where the mortgage money went. Into a car payment for a vehicle he couldn't afford. Sharon screamed that it was none of my business. Her finances were private. I laughed. Said my finances were supposed to be private too. But Mom didn't seem to respect that. Then Mom's voice came back. Desperate now. Said we could fix this. I just needed to call the bank, tell them it was a misunderstanding, and authorize the payment. Simple. I said nope. She said please. Sharon was hysterical. Brad was talking about divorce. This would destroy their marriage. I said maybe their marriage should be destroyed if it couldn't survive basic financial responsibility. You'll regret this, Mom said. Family is everything, and you're throwing all that away. Family doesn't steal from family, I said. Then I hung up. Tyler was dying laughing. Well, that was savage. My phone immediately started buzzing again. Sharon calling. I declined. She called again. Declined. Then came the texts. Sharon, you're really going to do this? Mom is crying because of you. I hope you're happy destroying your family. Brad says we should sue you. Fine. Be that way. We don't need you. I showed Tyler. He said, they're spiraling. This is beautiful. Then Dad called. I answered on speaker. Dad's voice was careful, measured, the peacekeeper coming to smooth things over. He said we needed to talk about this situation, that maybe there was a misunderstanding, that family should work together. I said there was no misunderstanding. Mom committed fraud. I reported it. Pretty straightforward. Dad said I wasn't technically wrong, but I was being vindictive, that the punishment didn't fit the crime. I said the punishment was exactly appropriate. Mom stole $37,000. The bank reversed it. Sharon faced consequences for not paying her bills. All perfectly proportional. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said Mom was just trying to help Sharon. That's what mothers do. I said mothers don't commit felonies. And if the only way to help Sharon was to steal from me, then maybe Sharon shouldn't be helped. Then I hung up on him too. Tyler raised his glass. Here's to boundaries. We clinked drinks. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Brad. If you don't fix this, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. I showed Tyler. He said, oh, this guy's an idiot. I replied, go ahead. Tell everyone I reported fraud. I'll wait. You're a coward. You're 4 months behind on your mortgage and drive a leased BMW. We're not the same. He didn't respond after that. Tyler stayed until midnight. We ordered more food, watched the texts roll in, and laughed at every increasingly desperate message. It felt good. Really good. The next morning, I woke up to 56 missed calls and 80 text messages. I ignored them all and went to work. I took the next day off work because I knew what was coming, and I wanted to handle it on my terms. Tyler had offered to come back over, but I told him I'd keep him posted. This was going to get messier before it got better. At 9 a.m., I drove to my bank. The branch manager, a woman named Claudia, who I'd worked with when setting up the account, greeted me with professional sympathy, said she'd heard about the fraud incident and wanted to make sure everything was handled correctly. We spent 90 minutes going through everything. I closed the compromised account completely and opened a brand new one with different routing numbers, added even more security layers, removed any recovery contacts my family might know, changed every security question to answers that had nothing to do with my real life. Good luck guessing those, Mom. Claudia asked quietly if I wanted to proceed with the police report. Said the 72-hour hold would expire soon. I told her to file it. No more delays. If they wanted to involve law enforcement, do it. She nodded. On my drive home, I got a call from another unknown number. I answered. Woman's voice, professional. Is this Drew Rios? I said yes. This is Grace from Desert Valley Mortgage. I'm calling regarding Sharon Rios's account. Our records show you as an authorized contact. I interrupted. Said those records were wrong. I wasn't an authorized contact. She had old information. She said she was calling to discuss payment options following yesterday's rejected payment. I said I wasn't discussing anything. Sharon's mortgage was Sharon's problem. She pushed. Said she understood this was a sensitive family matter, but wondered if there might be a private arrangement to prevent foreclosure. The company was willing to work with any family member who could help, and there it was. The mortgage company fishing for money from anyone connected to Sharon. I said there was no arrangement. Sharon needed to handle this herself. Then I added that my family had stolen $37,000 from me to make that payment. The bank reversed it as fraud. That's why she was calling. So no, I wouldn't be making any private arrangements. She paused, then said, I understand. I'm sorry to hear that. I hung up and blocked the number. When I got home, there was a car in the visitor spot I didn't recognize. Silver Honda Accord. I parked and walked toward my apartment. The car door opened. Sharon stepped out. She looked like heck. The Instagram princess had left the building. We need to talk, she said. There's nothing to talk about, I said as I kept walking. She followed me, said I was being ridiculous. This was family. We could work this out. I unlocked my door. She tried to follow me inside. I blocked her. Nope, you're not coming in. She teared up, said Mom told her everything. About the account, about hiring that guy to bypass security. Sharon claimed she didn't know about any of that. She thought Mom had my permission. I laughed. Asked how she thought Mom got permission to take $37,000 without ever talking to me about it. Sharon said she didn't think about it. She was desperate. The house was everything to her and Brad. They couldn't lose it. I said they were losing it because they didn't pay for it. Not my problem. She switched tactics, got angry, said I always acted superior. Like I was better than her because I was responsible and boring. Said I never understood what it was like to actually live life instead of hoarding money in some account. I said hoarding money is called saving. It's what adults do. She said I was a miserable person who had nothing except money, no wife, no kids, no life, just sitting in my apartment judging everyone else. I said I had something she didn't, financial security, and I was keeping it that way. She said this wasn't over, that Mom had a plan. They were going to fix this. Good luck with that, I said. Then I closed the door in her face. Through the door, I heard her yell, "You're going to regret this!" I texted Tyler. Sharon just showed up, made threats. This is getting good. He replied, "Want me to come over?" I said not yet, but stay ready. 2 hours later, Dad showed up. Alone this time. He knocked politely and waited. I opened the door. He looked tired, older than I remembered. He said Mom wanted to come, but he thought it would be better if it was just us. Man to man. I said fine, but he wasn't coming in. We could talk out here. We stood on my front step like strangers. Dad said the police had contacted Mom that morning about the fraud report. They wanted to interview her. She was terrified. I said she should be. She committed fraud. Dad said I was technically right but practically wrong, that sometimes you have to look past the technical details and focus on intent. Mom's intent was to help Sharon. That should count for something. I said intent doesn't matter when the action is a felony. If I robbed a bank with the intent to donate the money to charity, I'd still go to jail. He flinched. Said I was comparing Mom to a bank robber. I said if the crime fits. He tried a different angle. Said Sharon and Brad were talking about coming after me legally, suing for emotional distress or something. Their lawyer said they might have a case. I laughed. Told him to let them try. I'd countersue for the fraud and the theft and the harassment. Plus, I had documentation of everything. Bank statements, voice recordings, text messages, Sharon's threats from earlier today. Good luck finding a lawyer who'd take that case. He went quiet. Then he said he was disappointed in me, that he'd raised me better than this. That family was supposed to forgive. I said forgiveness requires remorse. None of them were sorry. They were just mad they got caught. He shook his head and walked back to his car without another word. That evening, I got an email from Mom. Long, rambling, clearly written while emotional. She said she was sorry for accessing my account, but she'd do it again if it meant saving Sharon. Said I was tearing the family apart over money that would have just sat in my account anyway. Said Sharon was talking about divorce. Said Brad's family was blaming them for the mess. Said she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function knowing her family was destroyed. At the end, she said, if I didn't fix this, she'd never forgive me. That I'd be dead to her. I replied with one line. I can live with that. Then I blocked her email. Tyler called. Said he heard from a mutual friend that my family was telling people I'd stolen money from Sharon and was refusing to pay it back. That I was the villain in this story. I said let them talk. Anyone with half a brain would ask for details, and the story would fall apart. You're taking this really well. Because I'm winning. The next morning, I woke up to find my car had been keyed. Deep scratches down both sides. Thief carved into the driver's side door. I took photos, called the police, filed a vandalism report, gave them the names of people who might have done it. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges if they found who did it. I said absolutely. Then I called my insurance company. Comprehensive coverage meant my deductible was only $500. I'd have it fixed by next week. Small price to pay for standing my ground. A week went by. Quiet. Too quiet. I'd gotten my car fixed, changed my insurance to add vandalism coverage, and even installed a camera pointed at my parking spot. Tyler said I was being paranoid. I said I was being prepared. Then Friday night happened. I was at home watching a movie when someone started pounding on my door. Aggressive. Loud. I looked through the peephole and saw Brad, Sharon's husband. He looked intoxicated, or high, or both. I didn't open the door. Called out asking what he wanted. He shouted that I needed to come out and face him like a man, that I'd destroyed his marriage and his life, and I needed to make it right. I told him to leave or I'd call the cops. He said he wasn't leaving until I fixed what I'd broken. Started pounding harder. The door shook. I called 911. Told them someone was trying to break into my apartment. Gave them the address. They said officers were on the way. Brad kept pounding and screaming about how I was a coward, how real men helped family, how I was hiding behind technicalities while his life fell apart. I stayed quiet, recorded everything on my phone. 5 minutes later, police showed up. I heard them telling Brad to step away from the door. He argued. They told him again, firmer. Then I heard him getting louder, more aggressive. Through the peephole, I watched them arrest him. Disorderly conduct, public intoxication. He fought them. They added resisting arrest. One of the officers knocked on my door after Brad was in the car. Asked if I was okay, if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. To everything. The officer took my statement. I showed him the videos. Told him about the family situation, the fraud, the escalating harassment. He said I was doing the right thing documenting everything. The next morning, Sharon called from a number I didn't have blocked yet. She was crying. Said Brad was in jail. Said it was my fault. Said I'd provoked him by ruining their lives. I said Brad got himself arrested by trying to break down my door. That's on him. But the bail is $1,500. We don't have that money. Can you help? I laughed. Are you serious? What do you want me to say? She yelled. Brad's job would fire him if he didn't show up Monday. We'd lose his income. Lose everything. That sounds like a Brad problem. Screw you! You're such a heartless jerk, she screamed. I'm just consistent. I replied, then I hung up. Sunday afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Barbara, your mom's friend. She's in the hospital. Stress-induced heart palpitations. The doctors say she needs to reduce stress. You need to fix this before you kill your mother. I replied, tell her I hope she feels better. The stress would go away if she stopped committing crimes. You're a monster, she replied. I'm a guy who reported fraud. If that makes me a monster, so be it. She didn't respond. Later that evening, Tyler came over with takeout. We sat at my kitchen table and he said, man, they're really falling apart. Good. Maybe they'll learn something. Do you not feel guilty? Nope, not even a little bit. Monday morning, I got a call from the mortgage company again. Different person this time. Said they'd sent foreclosure notices to Sharon and Brad. The house would go to auction in 3 weeks unless the full amount owed was paid. Over $48,000 at this point with penalties and fees. They asked one more time if I'd be willing to help. I said no. Don't call again. Tuesday, I came home from work to find Sharon sitting on my front step. She looked destroyed. Hair unwashed. Eyes red and puffy. She'd been crying for days by the look of it. She said Brad left, moved in with his brother in Tucson, filed for separation, said he couldn't handle the stress anymore, blamed her for the whole thing. I stood there with my keys in my hand. Didn't say anything. I lost everything. My house, my marriage, all because of you. No, it's all because you and your mother decided stealing from me would fix your problems. You could have just let it go, just accepted the help, just be a good brother. I said good families don't commit fraud, and good people don't show up at someone's apartment demanding money they have no right to. I have nowhere to go now, she sobbed. Mom and Dad's house is too small. I don't have money for rent. You should have thought about that before. She stood up. I hope you're happy. I hope this money was worth it, because you don't have a family anymore. I said, I never really did. Also, yes, I'm happy. She walked to her car and drove away. I went inside, made dinner, and slept better than I had in years. 3 months passed, quiet months, peaceful months. I'd blocked every family member's number, changed my email, updated my address with work to go to a P.O. box instead of my apartment. Complete information blackout. I heard through Tyler, who heard through mutual friends, that Sharon's house got foreclosed. She'd moved into a cheap apartment in a rough part of Phoenix. Brad officially filed for divorce. Mom and Dad were helping her with rent, but it was tight. The whole family was in a financial crisis because they'd burned through their savings trying to keep Sharon afloat. Perfect. Me? I got promoted at work. I'd also been looking at houses. Real houses. Not apartments. Not rentals. Property I'd own. With my $41,000 still intact, plus the additional savings I'd been stacking, I had enough for a solid down payment. I closed on a 3-bedroom townhouse in Scottsdale in early December. Deed in my name. Mortgage payments I could easily afford. Small backyard, 2-car garage, real adult stuff. I didn't tell anyone in my family. Didn't post on social media. Just moved in on a Saturday with Tyler and 2 other friends from work. We ordered food and celebrated properly. That night, sitting in my new living room, I felt something I'd never really experienced before. Complete peace. No anxiety about the next phone call begging for money. No dread about the next family crisis. Just quiet, comfortable peace. 2 weeks after moving in, my doorbell rang on a Saturday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anyone. Looked through the new Ring doorbell I'd installed. It was Mom and Dad, both of them. They looked older, worn down. Mom had lost weight. Dad's hair had gone grayer. I almost didn't open the door, but curiosity won. I opened it, but stood in the doorway, blocking entry. How'd you find me? Dad said they'd hired someone to locate me. Cost them $300. Do you people ever learn anything? I said calmly. Also, it seems like a waste of money you don't have. Mom's eyes were red. She'd been crying. She said they needed to talk. Please, just 5 minutes. I said no. We could talk right here, on my porch. Then I closed the door behind me so they couldn't see inside. Dad said they'd made mistakes. Big mistakes. They were sorry. I waited. Mom said the fraud was wrong. She knew that now. She'd been desperate to help Sharon and made terrible choices. She was sorry. Truly sorry. I asked if she'd have been sorry if I hadn't reported it. She didn't answer. Dad jumped in. Said the last 3 months had been rough. Sharon was barely holding it together. Working 2 jobs to afford rent. Brad was gone. The divorce would be final next month. They'd been helping her financially, but it was draining them. They'd burned through their retirement savings, trying to keep everyone afloat. We're in trouble, Drew. Mom said, real trouble. That sounds rough. We need help, Dad said. Just temporary. Just until we get back on our feet. We'll pay you back. With interest. Whatever you wanted. And there it was. The real reason for the visit. To ask for money. Again. No, I said. Mom started crying harder. Said they might lose their house. They were 3 months behind on their mortgage now. The bank was sending notices. They didn't know what to do. I said maybe they should call Sharon. She's got experience with foreclosure. Dad said Sharon was talking about self-harm, that she was in a really dark place. If something happened to her, could I live with that? I said Sharon was an adult responsible for her own mental health. If she was genuinely struggling, she should see a therapist, not hit up her brother for money. Mom collapsed a little. Dad caught her. She was sobbing now, full breakdown. Said she'd failed as a mother, failed as a person. Couldn't believe her son would watch his family suffer and do nothing. I said I wasn't doing nothing. I was living my life that I paid for with my money that I earned. They were welcome to do the same. Dad's face hardened. So that's it? Yup, that's it. You've changed. You're not the son we raised. You're right. The son you raised was a doormat. I'm not him anymore. Dad grabbed Mom's arm, said, let's go. They walked back to their car. Mom looked back once. I waved. They drove away. It's been 4 months now since all this started. I'm writing this from my home office on a Tuesday morning. Working remote. Promoted twice. Dating someone I met at a coffee shop. She knows nothing about the family drama except that we're not close. She doesn't push. Respects boundaries. It's refreshing. Some people would say that I should have helped family regardless. That money isn't worth relationships. Those people haven't been human ATMs their entire lives. I sleep great. Wake up in my house, check my bank account, and see my $41,000 still there, growing with every paycheck. I absolutely made the right choice. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.